Welcome. Thank you for joining me today. I am very excited about showing you how this solution will help transform your work experience by bringing simplicity and convenience to human capital management. With this solution, you will have instant access to all of your information from anywhere on any device. With our analytical approach, you will gain visibility into your workforce data to make it easier to gather key metrics and predict workforce trends to make more informed decisions and allow you to operate your business more effectively. Let's take a look at all of this in action. Today, we will walk you through the typical employee's life cycle starting from the recruitment and onboarding process. We will explore how your employees can access their personal information through the Employee Self-Service Portal. Next, we will move into taking a look at some of the approval processes and reporting capabilities available in the system from more of a manager's perspective. And finally, we will wrap up with the administrator's point of view, where we will run through the payroll process. With all of that said, allow me to pull up our sample recruitment site. Within the system, you can set up job requisitions and you can post those job openings out onto your company website or any other job board, allowing candidates to apply for those open positions. Candidates can then access this information directly from their mobile device where they can search through your available job postings. They can then view the job description and the job requirements to help decide if this job is a good fit, and then they can apply for that position. They will then be asked to create a user profile to capture all of their information. I am going to log in as an existing user so that we can take a look at an application that's already been completed. As a new candidate completes their application, they will simply enter in their information using the application wizard here on the left. They can keep track of their progress as they complete their application within this progress bar across the top of the screen. Candidates will then be asked to upload a copy of their resume. They can use their standard resume format as it currently is, or they can choose to automate their application process by using our preferred resume format. They also have the option to populate their resume from LinkedIn. All of their personal information, their work experience, and their education will all populate within this application automatically. Keep in mind that this is a customizable application, which allows you to determine what information you would like to collect from this candidate. You can mark certain fields as required, you can create custom fields, and you can ask knockout questions as part of this application process. As a final step, candidates will then review their information and sign off on their application before applying for this position. An email notification will be generated to alert the hiring manager that this application has been completed and is now ready for their review. As you can see, this application process is easy to follow and it will make a great first impression on your candidates. Now let's take a look at how you can manage the recruitment process. To do this, we will log in as Kathy, our company administrator. Managers need a tool that will help streamline processes so they can perform more effectively and focus their time on moving the organization forward strategically. So you will notice a series of dashboards here across the top of the screen that have been configured to give managers increased visibility to their team. Each module has a fully responsive dashboard that includes embedded analytics that will help guide smarter decisions and allow managers to take action. So let's begin by taking a look at our recruitment dashboard. Here we can get insight into how many open job requisitions we are looking to fill. We can also see how many candidates have applied to each one of these open positions and where these candidates fall within the hiring process. Maybe Kathy is interested in taking a deeper look into the supervisor position. We can use this applicants by job title chart to drill down and view these candidates who have applied for this position. We are now brought to our job applications report, which is currently being filtered by the supervisor position. Here we also have access to a resume search tool, which will allow the manager to type in any keywords such as a certain skill set or a certification that they are looking for, and the results will display within this report. At the bottom of this report, we can see additional graphs to get a breakdown of where each candidate falls within the hiring process for this job. We can use this chart to drill down into this report even further. Let's see who is currently in the interview stage. From this report, we can also drill down into each candidate to review their application, schedule interviews, and move the candidates through the hiring process. Let's take a look at our applicant's information. Remember, all of the information captured from the candidate will flow into the applicant tracking system seamlessly. The first screen that we come to is where you can find the applicant's contact information. You'll also have access to a copy of their resume. And from this screen, you can see which jobs this candidate has applied for. And you will have the ability to keep track of where they stand within the hiring process by clicking here on the View Job Applications icon. Here you can move the candidates through the defined hiring stages from the time the account was created all the way through the hiring process. As candidates navigate through these different hiring stages, emails can be sent out to those candidates to inform them of where they stand within the hiring process. Our candidate is currently in the interview stage, and we can track those interviews here as well. All of the details around each interview will be stored here on the communications screen. Once an interview has been scheduled, you can easily email the candidate right from here. You have the option of drafting an email on the fly, or you can select from one of our predetermined email templates. As you can see, we've created an email template that we can send to all of the candidates that move on to this phase of the interview process. When sending these emails, you also have the option to add a calendar attachment as well. Essentially, you can schedule an interview and have the interview sent to their personal calendar. As part of the hiring process, you may need to perform a background check on your candidate. We have an integration to complete a background check right here through the system. A candidate can then access their portal to sign off on a background check authorization form, and the hiring manager would be able to place that order directly through the system, with the results being displayed right here for easy access. Now let's fast forward a little bit and say that we're looking to hire this person. When hiring this employee, you will be asked to select which position you are filling. You can tie default settings to each job, which will then be automatically populated for your new hire. This will open up a new screen. Notice that certain fields such as their name and address have already been populated for you. This is pulling directly from their applicant profile. You will simply need to fill out the remaining required information to hire this applicant. For example, you can enter in their Social Security number and verify it through the Social Security Administration's database right from this screen. You will also need to enter in their base compensation and a few other settings. But remember, most of this information has already been populated based upon the position that you're filling. After you have identified all of the required information, then you will have successfully hired this applicant. Now that we have hired our employee, let's take a quick look at the onboarding process. Let's log in as Josh Bronson, our newly hired employee. Josh can access his employee self-service portal from any device, including his phone, and he will have the same user experience across the board. The first screen that he comes to is his personal dashboard, where he has easy access to all of his employees' self-service functionality. From here, he can clock in and out, he can enroll in his benefits, and he can view his historical payroll data. The menu is built for easy navigation with links to areas of the system that the employee accesses most frequently. Let's begin by taking a look at the onboarding process for new hires. Here we have our new hire checklist, which was created to help streamline the onboarding process for your employees. We can view the full onboarding wizard by clicking right here on the checklist name. As you can see, this onboarding checklist is displaying the items that Josh is responsible for completing. You can include all of your new hire forms within this checklist by creating electronic versions of each form. First, you will notice that Josh is required to review his handbook. We have attached a copy of this handbook right here for easy access. Once he has reviewed his handbook, he can then sign off and complete his authorization form. He will have access to preview the custom-built form, and then he will be prompted to sign off on this form using his electronic signature. This will then go through an approval process based upon the workflow that you have defined. Back on the checklist, you will notice that he is required to complete his I-9 forms and withholding forms, which are built standard within the system. These forms will be populated with the employee's personal information and can be electronically signed off and submitted for approval by an employee. Once approved, the tax information collected on the withholding form will automatically update within the payroll system, allowing for a streamlined onboarding process. A new employee would also be able to add their direct deposit information or any other personal information, which will go through an approval process as well. Once approved, the employee's personal information will automatically be updated within the system based upon effective dating. Now let's take a look at how Josh would be able to enroll in his benefits. An employee can either enroll in their benefits for open enrollment or for a life change event throughout the year. In this case, Josh is going to start the open enrollment process. We are first brought to the instruction screen, which can be configured to give your employees an idea of what to expect. Each tab here represents the different benefit plans that we are offering. We also have a passive enrollment option, which will allow employees to continue with their current coverage, or they can elect to change their coverage. For the medical insurance, you will notice that we are offering more than one type of medical plan. Employees can view the details around each one of these plans to better understand each option. For example, they can check out the total cost, they can view their copays, deductibles, and out-of-pocket limits as well. Now let's say that we want to compare our plans. We can simply click here on the Compare Plans option and select which plans we would like to compare. Maybe we want to compare the employee-only options. We can also select which plan details we would like to compare. For example, the total cost of this plan, the copay costs, the deductibles, the out-of-pocket limits. Now we can see a nice side-by-side comparison of the premium, the copay, the deductibles, etc., so that we can make a more informed decision about which plan we should move forward with. Let's select the Aetna employee-only plan. And now we can continue with the enrollment process for our next benefit plan. The same process will apply to his dental insurance. However, for every benefit plan, we also have the option to waive the coverage. This time, I will waive my dental insurance, and we are required to provide a reason for waiving our coverage. So perhaps we currently have other coverage. Now let's move on and take a look at the life insurance plan. Here we've set up a unit-based life insurance policy where employees can select their coverage amount by entering in the number of units that they will be electing. In this case, every unit equals $1,000 worth of coverage. We can see that 100 units or less is guaranteed, but it's possible to request more if the evidence of insurability form is provided. Let's see what happens if I enter in an amount greater than the guaranteed amount. Now the employee has the opportunity to upload a copy of their EOI right here from this screen. In addition, we are also required to add a beneficiary for his life insurance plan. All of Josh's contacts are listed below for easy selection. Let's select his spouse. In this case, his spouse will receive 100% of his insurance benefits. Now it's time to review our final selections. This screen will allow employees to review and confirm their selections, and once confirmed, we should be ready to submit our request. As a last step in the process, we are asked to sign off on our benefit elections by using our electronic signature. Our enrollment has successfully been submitted, and now our benefits will be carried through a workflow approval process. Once approved, the benefit selections will be saved against the employee's record, and the payroll deductions will automatically be created based upon effective dating. Also, we have an integration with a third party that will provide carrier connection services. This will automatically send the carriers any updates based upon the frequency that you've set up. Now, there are a number of ways that employees can track their time within the system. We have a mobile app which allows employees to clock in and out, which can also restrict punches based upon location. In addition, we can work with a variety of different hardware devices, which range from simple swipe devices to biometric devices. And of course, employees can also track their time using the web portal as well. So let's take a look at how Josh can collect and manage his time. I can use this dashboard widget right here to clock in and out or to change cost centers. By clicking on the Change Cost Center button, I can select which cost center I will be working in. As you can see, a list of available cost centers will appear for me to make my selection. And a notification appears to acknowledge that this transaction happened successfully. Now I can see my recent punches from today, and I can also take a look at my current timesheet right here from the top of the screen. This will take me to today's time entries, but I can also check out my entire timesheet if necessary. I also have the option to leave notes against my timesheet, so I can leave a note about an event that occurred on a particular day, for example, why I was late or why I missed a punch, and an email notification will be sent to my manager along with this note, prompting them to take any necessary action. I can also request changes to be made to my timesheet through a timesheet change request. Here I can request that time be added or modified on my timesheet, and these changes will go through an approval workflow before going into effect. The system also allows me to keep track of any sort of additional information, such as tips, mileage, and expense reimbursements. In this example, we're going to submit a travel expense that occurred today. We can select the type of expense, and we can also enter in the dollar amount for this reimbursement. In addition to simply tracking expenses, we can also upload a copy of this receipt for our manager to review as part of the timesheet approval process. Once approved, the extra pay will flow over into payroll. Now let's take a look at how an employee can request time off through the system. Right from his timesheet, he can access his time off request tool. This tool contains three parts: the request tool, the historical requests, and his time off balances. First, let's check out our available balances. Here we can see what's available, and keep in mind we can require an employee to have enough time accrued to accommodate for this time off request. Let's put in for a day of vacation. We can select the type of request, whether that be full day, partial day, or multiple day increments. And we can also select the date that we will be taking off. There is an optimized rules engine in place allowing you to set rules around how employees can take their vacation. For example, you could set a rule to allow only a set number of employees to be out on a given day, and the system will create an error if there is not enough coverage. You may also enter in a comment if necessary. And when you're ready, you can submit your request. Our request has been submitted successfully, but if you put in a time off request on a day that is not available, you would receive a warning message here. Once this has been submitted, an email notification will alert the manager that this time off request has been submitted and is now ready for their review. And last but not least, let's touch on the payroll self-service items from an employee's perspective. Employees have access to all of their historical payroll data right here from this screen. Today we can see his payday. If Josh wanted to see his historical pay statements, he can click right here, and this will give him a high-level view of his pay statement details. If Josh wanted to see a copy of his actual pay statement, he could download that directly from this screen. And as you can see, the pay stub is displaying all of Josh's earnings, his deductions, his taxes withheld, timesheet information, and accrual balances. You can also make available global as well as individual messages to your employees here. Back in his employee self-service portal, he has easy access to all of his historical W-2 forms as well. These forms can be easily downloaded when needed. As you can see, with this solution, your employees will have access to everything they need right here at their fingertips. Now let's move on to taking a look at the system from more of a manager's perspective. Let's log in as Paul Peterson, the manager of our company. Our managers need to have more visibility into managing their team. When Paul logs in, he has everything that he needs in order to better manage his employees right here at his fingertips. He can easily manage his day-to-day tasks with system-generated notifications and also to-do lists. Managers can also create custom dashboard views to help give them a better insight as to what is going on across their department. Displaying on Paul's team dashboard, you will notice that he has a couple of visuals that will help him see what's going on across his team. Here he has easy access to view the attendance status, which is updated in real time as the employees are clocking in or out throughout the day. He can then drill down into this report to see which employees make up these metrics. Also displayed on the dashboard, we have easy insight into our missing punches. We can then use this graph to drill down and take action. We now can see that employee that makes up the missing punch from that graph, and we can drill down into the timesheet to make that correction. In this case, we can see that the employee did not clock out at the end of the day. Perhaps they left early due to a family emergency, so I will correct this punch. Keep in mind that the system is capturing all of these changes in an audit trail. We can capture who made the change, when the change was made, the old value versus the new value, and even which IP address the change was made from. In addition, notes can be left against the timesheet to provide any additional information about why a change was made. So if there ever is a discrepancy, you can always look back to that audit trail to get a better understanding of what happened. Now let's take a look at some of the items pending Paul's review and approval. Any to-do item will trigger an email notification to the manager prompting them to log in and take action. As you can see, this to-do list is displaying all of the items that require Paul's approval. As we scroll through this list, we can see different timesheets that are pending approval. And we can also see that time off request that we have submitted from Josh. Remember, we can set up rules around the time off request policies so that by the time it reaches the manager's desk, it should be an easy approval. So let's go ahead and approve this request. So once this has been approved, the time off request will be updated onto their timesheet accordingly. You also can set up multiple levels of approval based upon your business needs. And once this has been approved, the time off can be exported to their personal calendar. Now we can move forward with approving the timesheets. We can certainly approve these timesheets by reviewing them individually and going through an individual approval process, or we can select all of our timesheets and we can mass approve them all at once. Once these have been approved, the timesheets will then be passed through an approval process, and once it reaches final approval, these timesheets will be in a state ready for payroll processing. Now let's take a look at some of the reporting capabilities available within the system from a manager's perspective. Attendance is a big factor when it comes to time and labor management. Using the time dashboard, our manager can get easy insight into attendance issues to help better manage their employees. He will be notified of any occurrences as they happen and can drill down into each one of these attendance charts for more visibility. He will be alerted when disciplinary actions are necessary to help reduce attendance problems moving forward. Also on his dashboard, Paul is able to use these charts to get a better handle on any excessive overtime across his team. It appears that we have a lot of overtime occurring in the associate cost center, so let's drill down to see if we can find the root cause. This brings us to a breakdown of this manager's cost center view of the calculated time summary report. We can now see the breakdown of each employee who's accrued overtime within this specific cost center. We can use this information to help analyze overtime trends and make strategic business decisions. When it comes to reporting, we can create filters to gather the appropriate data that we are looking for. Currently, this report is showing us how many hours were worked within this cost center for the date range that we have defined here. You can change the filters within this report to look for a specific calendar range, date range, or pay period. You can also filter this report for specific employees. You can add information into this report by clicking here on the Report Actions icon, where you can easily add columns into your report. The current columns are being displayed here on the right-hand side of the screen, and on the left side you can search through a list of all of the available reportable columns. Let's search for the hourly pay. Once we've located our column, we can add it into our report, and we can move this column around to get it displayed wherever we would like it to be. Once ready, we can hit Apply, and now we can see that column has been added into our report. Once you have configured your report to your liking, you can then save your settings. When saving, you can set your report as your default, and you can also share this report with other managers across your organization. You can also export your report. Let's take a quick look. As you can see, we can export into multiple different formats as needed. Keep in mind that you have the ability to customize any report in our system in the same way. You can also set up any report to auto-generate and be emailed to specific users. Now that we've taken a look at how the reporting works within the system, let's talk a little bit about performance management. To do this, we're going to log in as our company administrator. Let's log in as Kathy, who is ready to begin the performance evaluation process. I can use our dashboard reporting to gain better insight into the health of my company and the overall performance of my team. Charts can be used to gather key metrics and view trends across my team, and I can use this information to take action and drive my business forward. Throughout the year, you can capture key metrics to aid you in evaluating your employees' performance. So for example, you can keep track of incidents, trainings and certifications, awards, etc. We can then use our report analytics to get a better understanding of how our employees are performing, and we can use that information to empower them to grow within their position. So let's take a look at a couple of examples of this. Under the HR dashboard, you can keep track of incidents across your team. So this could reflect attendance violations, safety concerns, or even disciplinary write-ups. Within the Learning dashboard, we can gain insight into the tracking of trainings and certifications across our employees. We can see which trainings have been completed and by whom, and we can also see when those trainings expire. Under the Talent dashboard, I can use visuals to help better manage my team's overall performance, and I can also keep track of the performance review process as a whole. Now, throughout the year, we can assign team goals as well as personal goals to our employees to encourage success across our team. This chart here is showing us a breakdown of all of the goals that have been assigned to our employees. These dashboard analytics allow managers to keep goals top of mind as the year progresses to make sure that their team is on track. And we can use this information to empower employees to grow within their position. This chart can be used as a launching point to gain deeper insight into the status of these goals. Now we can see more details around each one of these particular goals, such as the status of those goals. We can even drill down into this for further information by clicking on the View Goal icon. When goals get assigned to the employees throughout the year, employees can keep track of the status of their goals right here. They can add any notes. They can upload supporting documentation that will help communicate their achievements to their manager. This goal can also be tied directly to the performance review. So let's take a look at an example of a performance review. I can easily get to the reviews right here from my menu. Let's take a look at Ashley's review. When setting up your reviews, you can identify who would be responsible for each step of the review process. As you can see, there are 3 levels of workflow set up for this review, and each step has a different weight associated with it. In this case, Ashley's self-review counts as 15% of her total ranking. She is currently being reviewed on her core values, her company competencies, and her goals. Each one of these different categories can have a different weight calculation as well. When we take a look at the final ranking, you will notice that this is taking into account all of the different variables, and it will determine what the final weighted average is for each review. From this screen, Kathy can enter in any additional comments as she goes through the review finalization process. This review could trigger a promotion or a job title change. This could also trigger an annual increase. Pay increases can be tied to our compensation module, where the system will look at the last finalized review and make recommendations on what the increase should be based upon the employee's pay grade. Managers can then use the budgeting tool to propose increases that will then go through a workflow approval process, and that will then go into effect based on the effective date defined. Now that we have wrapped up the performance review cycle, let's take a look at how we can run a payroll through the system. With this solution, payroll doesn't have to be a complex process. Using her payroll dashboard, she can use these functional charts to drill down into her payroll information to see where her payroll dollars are being allocated, and she can also view payroll trends over a defined period of time. Using our Open Payrolls chart, she can easily see which payrolls need to be processed. From here, we can easily drill down into our current payroll. We are first asked to initiate our payroll to create the pay statements for this defined pay period. As you can see, the payroll processing screen is logically laid out to define every step of the process in a checklist format, outlining a clear, easy process for the administrator to follow. The first step that we have is to go to the time prep process. This helps the administrator make sure that all of the timekeeping data is ready for payroll processing. We will verify that all of the payrolls have been approved. And we will also check for any error messages on these timesheets before moving this data into payroll. Once we've completed this process, we can come back to the payroll prep process. The next step is to sync the time. Syncing the time will put all of the timekeeping data into a batch that is ready for payroll processing. So let's take a look at that batch. In the batch entry screen, the payroll administrator would be able to review all of the payroll data. If necessary, they can make manual overrides directly from this screen. As we are editing this data, we want there to be checks and balances in place to prevent overpayments. We have a concept of payroll alerts, which can be set up globally or on an individual basis using effective dating. These alerts will require a sign-off to ensure that nothing gets overlooked during the payroll process. A global alert might be set up to flag when an employee is being paid over a certain dollar amount, while an individual alert would be set up to remind the user of something that needs to be done on this particular payroll. From the batch, you can identify if there's a payroll alert right here with this note icon. In this case, we have an individual alert that has been set up to remind us to enter a bonus for Paul. Notice this alert does require sign-off. Without signing off on this alert, we will not be able to submit our payroll for finalization. That being said, let's sign off on this alert now, and then we can add that bonus. To enter Paul's bonus, we can keep the bonus on the same pay statement as the regular earnings, and the system is intuitive enough to tax the regular earnings at the regular tax rate while it taxes the bonus at the supplemental rate, allowing you to keep everything on one check. That being said, we also have the option of creating a second check for this bonus. Now that we have created a second line for Paul, we can simply enter in his bonus right here under the bonus column. We also want to change the pay statement type to reflect this bonus check. With these different pay statement types, we can also set up different rules. For example, when we pay out a bonus check, maybe we want to block all deductions and issue the pay statement on a live check. Now that we've made these changes, let's save and update our payroll. And as the batch is being saved and updated, all of our calculations are being applied in real time. So we can review those pay statements and run any of our payroll reports without the need for the traditional pre-process. So if we want to take a look at Paul's pay statement, you will notice that this pay statement has not been finalized. The bonus that we just entered is now being reported here on this pay statement. And we can take a look at how that bonus will affect his taxes that are being calculated as everything is pulling in real time. Keep in mind that our system uses geospatial technology to determine what taxes should be applied. So it's going to be looking at where the employee works and where the employee lives to determine the appropriate taxes. It is intuitive enough to calculate down to the local taxes, as well as taking into account any reciprocity agreements between states in regards to taxes. This means you don't have to worry about assigning the tax codes because the system automatically applies the appropriate taxes for each employee. Once everything has been reviewed within this payroll, I can then close my batch. Once my batch has been closed, I can go back out to my payroll checklist where I can continue moving through these steps. The next step in this process is the Add Edit Pay Statements step. This allows us to view all of the employee data on an individual basis rather than viewing the employee pay statements all on one screen as we saw within the batch edit screen. Next, we need to make sure that we have reviewed all of our payroll alerts before we can close and submit our payroll. Once ready, we can close our payroll, and if there were any errors, they would be flagged in this step. Now, at any time during the payroll processing, you have access to all of your different payroll reports. So let's take a look at a couple of these payroll reports. We'll begin by taking a look at the payroll register. The information that we are looking at here on this payroll register is pulling from the payroll in its current state. So remember, we can look at this report even before the payroll has been closed, and we can see all of the calculations happening in real time for each pay statement. Now let's take a look at our general ledger. Keep in mind that the GL can be formatted based upon the accounting software specifications. As I shared earlier, there are multiple different formats in which we can export this report, including CSV, Excel, and QuickBooks. And the last report that I'd like to show you today is the Payroll Recap and Funding Report. Here we can see an overview of the entire payroll, including the number of paid employees. We can see the total check amount and the total direct deposit amount. You can also take a look at your tax liabilities, your vendor payments, and your total cash requirements. This report also includes a high-level overview of the general ledger summary, and we have some comparison reporting. Now let's go back to our payroll prep checklist. After the payroll data has been reviewed and closed, the payroll can then be submitted for finalization and delivery. And with that, we have completed our full suite demo overview. Thank you for your time, and please contact us for more information.